Silence eventually descends, leaving you alone with the heavy realization that you have abandoned your own potential. This isn't just a failure of willpower, it is a deep spiritual rift. Stay with me, because by the end of this journey, you'll see why Carl Jung argued that your lack of self-control isn't a personality flaw. It's a part of your soul that has been locked away and is screaming to be let back in. We rarely discuss the psychological erosion that occurs when a man repeatedly breaks his own word. To promise change every evening only to watch the same version of yourself wake up and fail again creates a unique kind of internal grief. You look in the mirror and don't see an enemy, but a stranger you can no longer trust. You swear this time is different. You feel the fire for an hour or two. Yet when the sun rises, the visionary is gone, replaced by a ghost who seeks comfort, distraction, and escape. Jung famously noted that humans will attempt any absurdity to avoid looking directly at their own essence. But what if your resistance to structure is actually a rejection of your destiny? What if the version of you that is lazy and distracted is just a role you've rehearsed until you forgot it was a mask? If these words are hitting a nerve, join us here at Winds of Thought, because we speak to the depths that others ignore. We've been lied to about what discipline actually is. It isn't a struggle of willpower, it's an evolution of identity. You cannot force structure onto a man who still views himself as a victim of his impulses. Discipline is not a burden, it is the physical manifestation of self-respect. This realization changes the war you fight every morning. Jung believed most individuals never actually materialize into their true selves because they remain alienated from their own capabilities. They look for external fixes, new environments, better apps, or more motivational content. But you don't need to add anything. You need to remove the noise and the hiding places where you escape from your primary duty, the obligation to your own becoming. This is the holy agreement between your current state and your ultimate purpose. Discipline isn't found in a cold shower or a 4-founder's alarm. It's found in total devotion to that contract. Think about your moments of peak vitality. It wasn't when you were resting or indulging, it was when you were congruent, when your actions finally matched your words. You felt a sense of wholeness that Jung called integration. Your psyche craves this unity. When you live in fragments, saying one thing and doing another, your mind will naturally revolt. That friction you feel isn't laziness, it's your soul rejecting a lie. Lack of order is merely a symptom of a divided spirit. One part of you builds the blueprint, while the other burns it down. Every time you repeat this, the chasm grows wider. Jung warned that whatever we push away eventually dominates us. The parts you neglect don't vanish, they sink into the shadow. This includes your drive, your ambition, and your terrifying strength. You aren't actually afraid of failing, you're afraid of what happens if you succeed. If you become the man you're capable of being, you lose your excuses. You can no longer blame your past or your circumstances. You become the evidence of your own power, and that is a heavy throne to sit upon. But the alternative is already killing you. Every time you snooze the clock or chase cheap dopamine, a small part of your spirit withers. You aren't exhausted from work. You're exhausted from the guilt of existing as a fraction of yourself. Discipline is the immune system of the human soul. Drop a comment if you're ready to stop hiding. Your honesty might be the bridge someone else needs to cross. Remember, there was a version of you years ago who believed in this fire before the world made you cynical. Your spirit hasn't forgotten that flame. We are going to return to that forge, but first we must understand the fracture. Why do you sabotage your own progress? Jung's archetypes reveal the hidden identity that is currently running your life. This isn't about being productive, it's about a total psychological overhaul. You didn't become this way by accident. You were conditioned by 1,000 tiny betrayals, some from others, but most from your own hands. You adopted the story of being a perpetual beginner. But that isn't your name, it's just a shield you built to stay safe from the pain of trying. Jung said that until we bring the darkness into the light, it will rule us, and we will call it luck or fate. Think back to the first time your effort was met with mockery or your structure was punished. That's where the war went up. Discipline requires a radical faith in one's own agency. When that faith is wounded, the disciplined self, the inner king, goes into exile. This is a repression of your highest potential. The part of you that wants to lead, create, and master time is still there, but is hiding in the dark. Every time you try to start a new habit, you aren't fighting a lack of energy, you're fighting the ghosts of every time you failed before. You cannot out-hustle a self-image that believes it is unworthy of success. You will always gravitate back to the person you believe you are. To change the behavior, we must integrate the man. Picture two forces inside you. One seeks legacy and sovereignty. He is the one who keeps promises in the dark. The other seeks safety and disappearance. He wants the warmth of the blankets, not the cold of the forge. These aren't enemies. The lazy version of you is actually a traumatized protector, trying to shield you from the sting of future disappointment. To master yourself, you must first learn to lead your own shadows. When you see this, discipline stops being a battle and becomes a homecoming. It is the restoration of the inner hierarchy. Jung knew that when a man meets his inner king, he stops performing for the world. He begins to organize his life as a reflection of his internal order. This is why an undisciplined man feels a deep, private shame, not because of his output, but because he knows his house is in disorder. Without this integration, you will keep reaching for external motivation that will never stay. You weren't meant to rely on a feeling to get things done. You were meant to move as a sovereign who has already decided his path. It will hurt, you will stumble, but those failures won't break you because your identity is now fixed. If you are still listening, the ancient, structured part of your soul is waking up. This isn't the part that yells, it's the part that builds in the quiet. You must forgive the years you spent in the dark. The immature man demands to be fixed. The mature man chooses to be remembered. Every time you choose the difficult right over the easy wrong, you are returning to the man your younger self desperately needed. Jung believed the goal of life was wholeness, and discipline is the bridge to that reality. It is how you prove to your subconscious that you are finally in control. So, would you rather live as a reaction to your environment or as a decoration of your will? The clock is not just ticking, it is building a monument of your choices. Every hour you spend in hesitation becomes a stone in the wall of your eventual regret. You are what you do, not what you intend. That truth should be your compass. Most men drift into a life they don't recognize because they were too afraid to wake up and walk alone. Real discipline changes the energy of a room. It makes people who are still sleeping uncomfortable. Perhaps you've been hiding your edge so you wouldn't lose your friends. But what if your isolation is actually an invitation to lead? Choosing comfort over potential is a slow form of spiritual suicide. Jung didn't want us to find happiness. He wanted us to find meaning through the confrontation of our own chaos. Discipline is the weapon you carry into that storm. Everyone is disciplined to something. Most are just disciplined to their own destruction. To change, you must view time as a sacred resource. When you choose the now over the forever, you are disrespecting the force of life itself. But when you align with rhythm, your days transform into rituals. You don't train to look good, you train to remember who is in charge. This shift takes time. It isn't a week-long challenge, it is a funeral. To become the sovereign, the boy who breaks his word must die. You have to bury the version of you that hides. Don't do it with anger, do it with gratitude for how he protected you until you were strong enough to take over. Once that energy is freed, you can build a life of armor and order. In a chaotic world, a structured man is a king. That initiation starts this second. You don't need to be ready, you just need to be honest. Jung believed wholeness comes from leading every part of yourself, even the weak ones. When your internal house is steady, you will finally find peace. Return to your promise today, not because you have to, but because you finally know what it means to be a man of your word. If this resonated, please like and subscribe to Winds of Thought for more journeys into the psyche. Your future self is the only judge that matters. What will you give them to remember? The psychological depth of this transformation goes beyond mere habit. It is about reclaiming the psychic energy you have spent suppressing your own greatness. When we avoid the discipline of our craft or our health, We are not merely resting, we are actively strangling the part of us that wishes to speak. Every time you turn away from the work you know you must do, you are reinforcing a neural pathway of defeat. You are telling your subconscious mind that your desires are meaningless and that your word is hollow. This creates a state of neurosis, a split where the conscious mind wants one thing while the unconscious mind actively works against it. Jung's brilliance was in recognizing that this conflict is the root of most modern suffering. We are not tired because we work too hard. We are tired because we are at war with ourselves. Imagine the power you would have if all parts of you were moving in the same direction. Imagine the clarity that would come if you no longer had to negotiate with the part of yourself that wants to quit. This is the promise of integration. It is the ability to walk through the world with a unified will, focus like a laser on the tasks at hand. We often talk about the shadow as something dark and negative, but Jung taught us that the shadow also contains the gold of our personality. Your intensity, your focus, and your unyielding discipline have been cast into the shadow because they were too much for the world to handle. You were told to be quiet, to be patient, and to wait your turn. You were taught that being too much was a social sin, and so you tucked away your edge. You became soft and agreeable, and in doing so, you lost your ability to govern yourself. Reclaiming your discipline is an act of reclaiming that edge. It is saying that you are no longer willing to live a lukewarm life. It is the decision to become formidable. A formidable man is not a dangerous man in the sense of being harmful. He is a man who cannot be easily swayed from his path. He is a man who knows his value and treats his time with the reverence it deserves. This is the true meaning of sovereignty. It is the internal state of being a king in your own psychological kingdom. When you achieve this, the external world begins to mirror your internal state. Your relationships improve because you are reliable. Your career advances because you are consistent. Your health improves because you are no longer using food or substances to numb the pain of your own stagnation. The journey toward this state of wholeness is not a straight line. There will be days when the old ghosts return, whispering that you are a fraud and that your progress is temporary. These are the moments when your discipline is truly tested. Rinchen said, but the real work happens in the trenches of the mundane. It happens when you are tired, when you are bored, and when no one is watching. Jung called this the process of individuation, the slow, arduous task of becoming who you truly are. It requires a willingness to face the truth about your own failures without falling into the trap of self-loathing. You must be able to look at your laziness and see it for what it is, a defense mechanism. You must be able to look at your fear and see it as a signpost pointing toward the very thing you must do. This is the path of the warrior. It is a path of constant vigilance and unyielding commitment to the truth. By choosing this path, you are joining a lineage of men and women throughout history who refuse to settle for a life of quiet desperation. You are choosing to be awake in a world that is largely asleep. This awakening is the most significant event in a person's life. It is the moment when the fate you have been suffering under is revealed to be nothing more than the unexamined scripts of your own mind. When you take responsibility for your discipline, you are taking back the pen that writes your story. You are no longer a character in someone else's play. You are the author, the director, and the lead actor. This shift in perspective is terrifying because it removes all excuses. You can no longer blame your parents, your boss, or the economy for your state of being. You are the architect of your own character. And while that responsibility is heavy, it is also the only thing that can set you free. Freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want. It is the ability to do what you know is right, regardless of the internal or external pressures to do otherwise. This is the freedom that Jung sought for all his patients. It is the freedom of a man who is whole, a man who has integrated his shadow and stepped into his light. As you move forward from this moment, carry the words of Jung with you. Remember that your life is a work of art, and discipline is the chisel that shapes it. Do not be afraid of the pain of the chisel, be afraid of the shapeless block of stone that remains when the artist is too timid to strike. Every decision you make from here on out is a vote for the person you are becoming. When you choose to get out of bed, when you choose to do the difficult task first, when you choose to speak the truth even when it's uncomfortable, you are building the foundation of your new identity. This foundation must be built on the bedrock of honesty. You must be honest about where you are and honest about where you want to go. You must stop lying to yourself about why you aren't there yet. The path is clear, but it is not easy. It requires a daily sacrifice of the lower self at the altar of the higher self. It requires a commitment to excellence that knows no compromise. But the rewards are beyond measure. The peace of mind that comes from knowing you have given your best, the strength of character that comes from overcoming your own weaknesses, and the deep sense of meaning that comes from living in alignment with your purpose. These are the fruits of a disciplined life. They are available to anyone who is willing to pay the price. Are you willing? Are you ready to stop hiding and start living? The world is waiting for the man you were meant to be. Your future self is waiting. Don't make them wait any longer. Return to the throne. Reclaim your power. Lead your soul home. This is the work. This is the journey. This is your life. Make it count. Remember that the silence you hear when you are alone is not a void. It is the space where your true self resides. Listen to it, honor it, and then move with the quiet, unwavering strength of a man who has finally remembered what he came here to do. Your legacy is being written in the small moments of today. Every choice is a word, every day a page. What kind of story are you writing? Is it a tragedy of what if, or an epic of I am? The power is in your hands. Use it wisely. The king has returned. Now, let him rule with wisdom, strength, and an iron will that serves a heart of gold. This is the way of the shadow and the light. This is the way of wholeness. This is the way of the sovereign. Go now and build your kingdom.